Have you ever stopped to think, as one country is able to maintain transportation systems work perfectly in areas where there aren't people? While the world is debating crowded subways and urban congestion, there is something going on in the rural areas of the Japanese, which few people know of, and what's amazing, this is being done precisely that in which the population is dying out. Today, I am going to show you something that very few Brazilians know how it is. Get ready, because you're going to find out in the next few minutes will change your vision of mobility and urban planning. So let me tell you a true story. This is a small town in the mountains off Japan. In the 1980s, they were always there, for about 5 million people. Now, less than 800. Most of them are older people, above 70 years of age. The evacuation took place. The young men were gone, schools are shut, but do you know what's not closed for the transport system? And we're not talking about the bus to slash spending on a once a day. We're talking about technology so advanced that they seem to be science fiction that is operating in the villages that you can't even find it on a map here. Is the first secret is that they don't want you to know this. The greater the population, the more creative you need to be. The solution for you, in the mountainous regions of Nagano Prefecture, is controlled by microtrains, to be autonomous. They operate on demand. You heard that right. They are not trained with the times. They are rail vehicles in the Forto 8-seater, what you call through the app, just as you can, but out on the trail. The technology is brutally simple and brilliant. At the same time, the sensors of the laser to map out the paths to each of the 50 meters away systems are going to calculate the most efficient route between multiple passengers, and all of this will work with solar energy collected in the course of their own railway line. Cost of the operation around 70% lower than that of a conventional bus. Carbon footprint pretty much zero. The most fascinating part of this system, it was installed in 2019, just as the railway line of the traditional were going to be turned off due to lack of passengers. Take a look at it if you think this is amazing. Imagine what's ahead of you. It does the following if you sign up right now on the channel Invisible Indiara. ND, share this video with someone who is also fascinated by innovation. Are you going to help me a lot? And I assure you that this knowledge is going to be well worth it. But wait, the trains to standalone is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to talk about something that is even more invisible to the raft of electric of the lakes in the countryside. There are no less than 30 lakes within the regions of Hokkaido and Tohoku area that connect to small isolated communities. In the old days, boats, diesel engines, were those of the stars, noisy, polluting, expensive to maintain. In 2016, he began a project for the silent, literally silent, they were developed raft of electric-powered submarine, which did not make any noise. No, do you feel it? Just the wind. The batteries are charged by the turbine, hydroelectric, micro-installed on its own hull, which captures the energy of the motion of the water. Capacity from 12 to 40 passengers depending on the craft. Autonomy up to 80 kilometers on a full charge. What's more, these crossings are controlled remotely. There is an operator at the central monitoring of up to 6 ships simultaneously using the camera and sensors. In the event of an emergency, a pilot of the site can take over the control, and in less than 3 seconds, you know what's the detail that left me in awe. These ferries carry mainly in the dark, in the elderly people of the 70s, 80s, and 90 years of age that you go to the doctor, make purchases, and visiting family members. And they will also have access to a technology that does not exist in the majority of the large towns and cities in the world. This is not just a transport, it's with dignity. Now come with me, and I'll show you something even more remarkable. The world through the Alps and automated in the mountains of the Japanese Alps, between the regions of the Toyama Prefecture and Nagano Prefecture. There are the lines that go up to altitudes of 2,400 to 3,000 feet, in places where snow falls in the first half of the year, where the wind can reach up to 150 kilometers h for decadists. These lines are on the drivers to highly specialized care, the people who knew every curve, every tunnel, every point of the hazard. But here's the problem. Some of these professionals began to retire, and there were the young people who are interested in replacing them. The solution to Japanese, the scanning of the knowledge of them between 2017 and 2022 to develop a system, WOULD, have to literally learned all the drivers for veterans. The sensors recorded the thousands of travel, every decision, every adjustment of the speed of each compromised with creditors. What was the result? The trains is completely automated, which will operate in conditions that would make any engineer in the West say that's impossible. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of it? I bet you don't. Comment below if you know of these technologies, or whether it is completely new to you. I want to hear from you. These trains, the Alpine, has a capacity of 20 to 150 passengers depending on the model, and here's the detail that matters, that they will operate even when there are only 3 or 4 people on board. Why, you ask? The fact that the system has been designed thinking on the efficiency of on-demand. It is not at capacity in each composition. It has photovoltaic cells on the roof, lithium-ion batteries, and next-generation regenerative brakes, which you return for up to 40% of its energy to the net on the way down. And do you know what is the accident rate? Since the full automation, zero. Quite literally, zero risk in more than 5 years of operation. Calm down, because we haven't talked about the most fascinating of all is the integration of the unseen, all 3 of these systems. Microtrains on demand, ferry, electric, quiet, and railways through the Alps automated. There are no outliers. They are connected to a unique application that allows you to plan for a whole day. You can get out of a remote village on the microtrain to do in connection with an attempt to electricity, and then get on the railway of the Alpine automated OPA, an area hospital. All your content in sync. Everything is automated, WENT, to the central sets the time in real time based on demand. If you set an appointment with the doctor at 1480 miles away, and the system will automatically calculate which combinations of transport will take you there at the right time, using less energy and making less trips to empty. This is not a public transport, it is a living organism. And for the most insane, this system is less expensive to operate than the older bus diesel engine, which ran on empty for the same route. Let's get down to the real numbers, because they are ridiculous. A diesel bus in the conventional route of rural Japan. I used to carry around an average of 8 to 12 passengers per day while consuming 80 to 120 gallons of diesel fuel, with an operating cost of up to 35 to 50 billion yen on a daily basis. Microtrain on demand carries a 10 to 25 passengers per day, with a cost of operation of 8 to 12,000 yen, bill zero emission, and the satisfaction rate of users in excess of 90%. The difference in the 3 to 6 times more cost efficient and infinitely better, environmentally speaking. And look, if you've made it this far, it's because you really care about innovation and the future. Then do the following: click that subscribe button on the channel. Is invisible infrastructure. Right now this type of content is rare, and I want to continue bringing these discoveries to you now. Let me tell you what is really behind it all. It is not just the technology. It is not only in engineering and construction. It is a complete change in mindset about what it means to serve people in the West. When the region lost population and the services are hacked, it makes economic sense, right? The fewer people there are, the less the investment. But in Japan, it reversed the flow. They got it exactly where there are less people. That's where the technology needs to be smart about it, because each person's account, each of the participants that they need to go to the doctor, each of the farmers who have to sell their products, every child needs to go to a school in a nearby town. These systems have not been created for profit. They were created so as not to leave anyone behind. And here's the part that amazes me the most: all of this was done without fuss, without advertising, without the international spotlight. While the whole world's talking about flying cars and hyperloops, futuristic, and the Japanese were in solving real-life problems with solutions that are practical and implementable. The raft of electric do not appear on any of the journal technology. The microtrains have won international awards. The world through the Alps, automated, non-turned, and the headline in the world. Why, you ask? Because they weren't made to impress. It was made for it to work, and it works perfectly. There's another thing that's fascinating. What do I need to tell you? The preventive maintenance. All of these systems use sensors to monitor each component in real-day. The tracks, motors, battery packs, safety, and security systems. Everything is connected to an AI center, which predicts failures before they occur. What is the result? The rate of bankruptcies is not programmed in. That is less than 2% per year, compared to the 15% to 25% in the conventional systems. This means fewer interruptions, less the costs of emergency response, and more reliable for anyone who depends on those transports. And you think of me, we're talking about systems that operate under the most extreme conditions: snow, heavy rain, strong wind, Temperature changes from 15 degrees Celsius to plus 35 degree, and even then, it will work better than the majority of the urban systems in developing countries. But here's the question: you don't want to be silent, that it is not replicated in the whole entire world. The answer is very simple and frustrating. Because it requires long-term planning, these systems have to be thought out to the horizons of 30 and 50 years old, not for the next election cycle, not to the company's quarterly results, for the benefit of future generations. And this, unfortunately, is rare in today's world. The initial investment in a microtrain to a standalone is between 200 and 400 billion US dollars. It seems that a lot. It's less than 1% of the total cost of the build-a-mile from the metro in a big city. And an attempt to electricity costs between 80 and 150 billion yen. The return on investment comes from 8 to 12 years old, with a fuel efficiency the world through Theops automated, required and mend investment of 15 to 40 billion yen in the course of the last 5 years. But you have removed the operating cost of 80 to 120 billion yen in the last 20 years. Otherwise, it makes a lot of sense. In addition, it requires courage. Look, before I show you the last of the secret, answer me one thing in the comments. Do you think that this is the kind of solution that could work in the United States? In which areas? I really want to know your opinion on it. And now comes the icing on the cake: the social impact of the unseen. There is a study by 2023 at the University of Kyoto which examined the 45 countries that have received these systems. The results are very exciting. In the village, with microtrains on demand, the rate of social isolation of older people has fallen from 60 to 75%. Why, you ask? Because they went to have a level of autonomy, don't rely on most of the kids or neighbors to each and every move in the regions. With a raft of electric, came up with something unexpected. A small local business has begun to grow. The artisans, the farmers, organic growers of tea. Mobility is a reliable. They are able to gain access to markets, once again, in areas not served by the railways. Through the Alps, tourism has grown by 200% to 400%. But it's not the one from mass tourism which destroys everything. Tourism is a conscious low impact, which brings in an income without destroying the culture of the place. At these numbers do not appear on financial reports to the traditional ones, but to become realifit has a story that touched me deeply. In a small village in Nagano Prefecture lived a lady of the 87-year-old named Sachiko. She makes her dolls handmade for 70 years. The system of microtrain her, she can't make a visit to his daughter and 40 kilometers away from 2 times a week on her own independent. She said in an interview, "I felt like I was dead when he could not get out. Now at the age of 87 I'm alive again." This isn't happening, and it is this which distinguishes the technology and innovation with a purpose. The technology is amazing. Innovation with a purpose too. Change lives in these systems. The Japanese were not made to win awards, to appear on the TED Talks, or being on the cover of the magazine. They were created to solve a problem in real human. How do you ensure the dignity and independence for the people that live in places that are overlooked by the world? And they did it. It silently. A very efficient way. Perfectly. While the world is debating autonomous cars in a smart city, and the Japanese have already deployed autonomous mobility in places where there is no signal on the cell phone. While the rich countries to discuss the transportation, electric, and they are already operating fleet to completely clean in the mountainous regions of stress. As urban planners grapple integration of different modes of transport, they have already put in place systems that operate as a living organism, adapting in real time to the needs of the people. And they did all of this for less than 1 in a million people, spread out in hundreds of small villages. If this is not the engineering of the mind, and I don't know what it is, so what do you think of it? This video has opened their minds to something new. Then leave him a like, subscribe to the channel to Invisible Ivdora if you're not yet subscribed. Share it with someone who needs to see this, and comment below which part of you was impressed. Your commitment makes all the difference, so I can keep bringing you content like this until the next video. And thank you for getting this far.